Okay, now you're live.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Julia. I'll moderate this panel discussion. We are honored to have 5 co-signers and the Migri Director General with us today to discuss why and how to improve Finnish immigration service. Let me introduce them briefly. Aicha Manai is the network manager of Suomen Yrittäjät, the Federal of Finnish Enterprises. And Peter Vesterbacka is the founder of the Finance Bay Area. Kristina is the CEO of the Shortcut. And we have the Director General of Migri, Jari Kähkönen. And also Alexandra Pasternak-Jackson, the CEO of Amcham, Finland. And Konstantin Kouzmitchev is in charge of the international affairs of the National Union of University Students in Finland. Now let me briefly introduce the Reform Migri petition. Migri is the first touch point for immigrants who would like to enter Finland, and unfriendly and inefficient immigration service has caused many problems for immigrants and also hindered national development. So we started this petition to improve Finnish immigration service to attract and retain international talent. This campaign is run by the group of volunteers of Finnish and the international professionals, entrepreneurs, and students. So far, we've gathered to 2,800 of signatures and also have 1,000 followers on our Facebook page, and 37 stories are read over 100,000 times. 10 national organizations and the companies has co-signed the petitions. So what's the reason to reform? Or what is so urgent right now? Finland is an aging society in need of international talent to secure social welfare and also national competitiveness. Recently, OECD report has shown that Finland is losing foreign investment and urging Finland to improve immigration service. Even though Finland has been the happiest country in the world for 4 years in a row, the Global Expats Survey showing ranked Finland 39 out of 59 countries is quite important. And the inhumane processing time not only leave the immigrants in anxiety and uncertainties, and also limit their access to service and civil rights. We identify 4 main issues. First of all, the applications take too long, and also the fee are too expensive. Take a comparison between Estonia and Finland. You can see Estonia only charge about 1/3 and process about twice or 6 times faster than Finland. Our neighboring country is really good at attracting international talent. The second issue is the ill-designed reservation system. There is no mechanism to limit only one booking for one applicant, and it's very easily exploited. So there are illegal sales of time slots online or block unnecessarily. Also, the issue of lack of available appointments has forced people to wait in line for hours and days during the COVID, in the cold, and also now in the heat. The third issue is the inconsistency and the lack of transparency. The services delivery is inconsistent, and some received decision in days, some waited over the maximum processing time. And that is the lack of transparency in decision-making and action plans. The fourth issue is the problematic accessibility. The information on websites is insufficient and unclear, so applicants are always kind of confused how to fill in the application right. And outside of Finland, there are difficulties to obtaining first permits. And inside Finland, there are only 9 service points with congestion, and people have to travel a long distance. And the customer service can answer questions in a few days and leave people in really confusion. Here are our petition requests. We urge to set up an external committee to monitor the reform progress, and also a transparent action plan by the end of July to fix all the main issues. We need a friendly and efficient immigration service to keep up with the national needs. Thank you. Now, we know a little bit more about this petition, now we have the Migri Director General Jari to share the Migri's reform the reform plan. Jari, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation for this meeting, and I'm very happy to be here today to have a hopefully fruitful discussion with you about the this area which covers the work of Finnish immigration services. I would also like to add that this meeting is very important for the immigration services, but also for me personally, because one of the goals that we are really trying to improve here and is to hear our customers, and I think this is one good way to hear the customers and the society who is dealing with the Migri. But I have a really short introduction for the processes and improvements that we have planned here in Migri to partially answer the questions and challenges that you have presented to us. And so first slide, please. And I have to say that I truly recognize the challenges that we have. It's very important that we have a discussions around these our challenges, and we are very pleased that the society and our customers and businesses are giving opinions and ideas for the Migri how to improve our work, because we are working for the customers, not ourselves, but and for the Finnish society. So one important thing that we are now trying to do, and we are committed to achieve, is these processing times. As you mentioned, that the processing times of the Migri services and permits are longer, for example, than in Estonia. So we have here 3 major goals to achieve, and this is, first of all, we want to achieve residence permits for specialists, including their family members, in future in 14 days. We recognize that these residence permits or specialists are very important for our businesses. So this is one of the goals that we are committed to achieve in near future. Also, we are recognizing that the need to have residence permits for the startup entrepreneurs also in 14 days, including the family members. This is the one goal that we are also committed to do. And by end of the 2023, other employment-based residence permits and residence permits for the students, including family members, our goal is to have those permits through our system in 1 month. These are the 3, let's say, main targets that we are reaching, and I'm very confident that we are achieving these goals in near future. And let's say if you are talking about the residence permits for specialists and family members and startup entrepreneurs, the goal is in early 22, and this permits for the residence permits for the students and employment, the goal is in 2023. Next slides, please. And we have started our own project, and its aim is to ensure that in 2023 work and study permits are issued within 1 month on average. This is our internal project, which is also working with close cooperation with the law, with the other legislative processes which are going on in the ministries. As to regards of the permits for the special and startup entrepreneurs and their families, as I told, the goal is 2 weeks by end of the 2021. Agile development of our practices and increased automation enabled us to speed up the permit processing and help Finland to compete for the international experts. We do recognize this challenge that international experts and workers and also students, there's a really intense competition in the Europe and also worldwide. So we are really wanting to do our share to ensure that the Finland will have these experts and students are coming to Finland, and we are really looking forward that our processes and are in that level that the permits are granted in those time periods that we have shown. The work-related permit processes are being streamlined in cooperation with the entire immigration administration. So we have to cover from the embassies to the immigration services for the employment offices. The whole line has to be streamlined, and this is the one goal, and we have to do in this year and also in the future, and that's very important that all the actors know what they are doing. Lupa 22 is also deadly customer-focused project, which also entails reforming customer information and advisory services. So I want to underline that the customer services and the experience of the customers are very important for us, and we are really want to also improve our work also on that area. And the final slide, please. And this is the current situation from our stats at the moment. Median processing times for the workplace residence permits in 21. So and this has from January to May, and as you can see, we have I could say very nice achievements, but still we have to maintain this level of the specialist startup entrepreneurs and researchers also in the future. That's very important for us. And also employed persons permits average time in or median processing time is 52 days, but the goal is in 30. So we have steps to take that we can reach that goal. But I'm very confident that we will reach that goal in future. So this is briefly what we are doing and what are our goals. And as I said, it's very important that we will we can reach these goals of processing times, but also at the same time we want to improve our customer services in all our areas. We want to have a better customers experience. We want to improve our websites and all online services. So we are multitasking at the moment and doing many steps that we can look in the future and say that we have achieved many goals, and the Finnish Immigration Service is a solid partner and worker in this area, and we will have our service are in good quality and trustworthy.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Jari, for the presentation. Yeah, it's good to see the Migri has its own reform plan to reach the goals in 2 years. But I think I would like to ask more questions in details, like about the really problematic reservation systems. Is also there's a plan to redesign it?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Yeah, it's about the reservation system. So for people to book the appointments, is there also a plan to redesign it in the future?
Well, we are looking also all our processes, and I think the Harriet would be a better expert to answer in that question. I think, is it Harriet? Are you online at the moment?
We can add her in here.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes. Hi. Yes. You can answer. Thank you.
You asked about our booking system, which is not the newest one, but we are now currently considering should we change it or could we just improve our booking system. One main thing is also, of course, that I read that you recommend us that we could limit amount of appointments one person can do, because then we let those other appointments for other customers. And it's two-side thing, because we have also employers who wants to book the time for people to their employees like together, and that's why we could already do that. We somehow limit those number of appointment, but there is that other side with this question. But I think the booking system, we can of course improve that, and we are now currently doing that. But I think the bigger problem is that we have to somehow get more appointment times, not the system, but those available times. Did I answer your questions at all?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different perspective to look into for sure. But now it's like when people are kind of anxious, and when they can grab the slots, they grab 3 or 5 or even more, not just to sell, just because they don't know when they have the time to do the appointment. Yeah. And this kind of block unnecessary. Yeah.
That's why we opened that those available times for 6 months. It was before 3 months, and we also noticed that it's too short time in this current situation. And we have promised that and our goal is that at the end of the summer, our queue to a service point is not more than 1 month. So we have quite a hard goal for that, and we are doing currently different kind of things that we could achieve that.
Yeah, thank you. There's one more question. Yeah, hi Peter.
Yeah, I just have to comment on this, because I think that again, if there is a will, there is a way. And if I look at kind of like reservation systems and lead times and all of that, I mean, if you look at now, we're doing mass vaccinations of the entire population. You know, so the volume is like slightly bigger than what Migri is dealing with, or any of our like public sector like players. So again, it wasn't impossible to create that system. And I think that, again, basically we should look at this, that Migri has unlimited resources, because this is, according to our government, high priority. And we also know that there is like lots and lots of money around. At least that's like the public statement if you ask any of the ministers and all of that. So it's time to hold people accountable for all of this. And I think that, again, building a reservation system in this time and age is not like totally impossible if we want to do that. So I think that it's, again, something that we really need to work together and make that happen. So I don't think that there is any excuse for providing the kind of service that we are providing today. It needs to be much, much better. And a month is like an eternity in this business.
If we talk about just that booking system, is that Vihta, which we are using, is the totally same system which those corona vaccination whose is also using. So I go back and say again that I think the booking system is not the thing, but that that limited resources we have. So
okay, so how many more people do we need? Jari probably knows. Is it 100 people or 1,000 people? What does it take? Because I mean, this is, again, we always hear more resources, but I think that we then need to then make sure that there are people around, the processes work, and like not enough resources is not a good excuse if our government is saying that this will be fixed. I mean, talk is cheap.
Well, it's a very, very, very good point that you raised, Peter. But let's say that at the moment, if our level of the employees is around 1,000 or roughly that area, and when you are looking at the resources that and the demands of our government and the society and the businesses that so I think that the current level is that we can manage at the moment, and the 1 month for the booking, I don't think that if you are comparing the situation that it has been, it's I think it's improvement when you are looking back in the history to reach 1 month. But the biggest problem, if you are talking about the resources, is that we don't have that kind of solid resources that we could look in the future. For example, for the forthcoming years, there is minus 27% of the resources reduction waiting for us in 2022, and beyond that. So we are dealing with the quite difficult situation, and I'm sure that if there is a money flying around for our purposes, that we have to always fight for our resources. But I look in the future, and I'm very hopeful that all the what we are doing at the moment, that we are going in the right direction, and we have to then focus on some projects what we are doing, and try to find that way that the challenges that we are facing, that we can focus now on those improvements that are creating more results for the customer. So we have to choose our battles at the moment.
Jari, sorry, Julia, I'd like to know in general, do you think the decision makers that are making decisions about the resourcing to Migri understand how incredibly crucial the work you do for Finland's future, understand how it's tied to the growth of our GDP, the growth, the employability of people in this country, not just immigrants, but Finns as well, because of the knowledge transfer? I mean, when I look at these things and I'm listening to this discussion, is there sort of a missing holistic viewpoint on how incredibly important it is we don't have a bottleneck at Migri.
Yeah. Well, I think that they are realizing, but I think the main thing is for us that we want to show that we are worth of the trust, and I don't blame. The resources are not the only answer for this, because for the legislation, automatization, all these, and when we are looking for our own processes are the keys. One of the keys that all these things that we do need a solid background for financing and resources, but we also need those steps that we are now doing with Harriet and other people in the Migri for the processes, automatization, and these kind of things. So it's combined, but it's maybe a challenge to show the decision makers that could I say that we are worthy of the investment.
I think we're on the we're on the same team with this. So it's about it's about finding these different angles to make sure that we're going to those decision makers and saying, look, Jari and his team, they have an uphill climb trying to get to these goals that businesses, individuals, families need. And so, these are the solutions that you, the decision makers, can impact. And so I think you now, with this group of people here, the people in the chat, have a tremendous resource and team to help change these minds and these mindsets to understand how valuable the work that happens at Migri is.
Yeah. And one thing here, I think that this is also why this Reform Migri thing and this panel discussion and this whole event today is so important, because we have been watching this for many governments. I've been working on this, I don't know how long. And the problem is that there hasn't been a lot of progress. And then once we have progress, then it takes a year and then we're back to where we started. So I think that this is also like a concern. And I think that I would argue that most people don't even understand what the problem is. I mean, it's not, of course, like we can solve this like overnight, but I think that, again, if we can apply, okay, let's add 100 million, or is it 200 million, or what do we need from on the budget side for the IT systems to work properly? Do we need a new reservation system or not? Do we need more people? Is it 100 people, 200 people? So that we could have some number that we can ask for. Because I think that if we hear the government saying that this is a priority, then that should be like visible. And then it's not good enough if we say that, okay, we don't have enough resources, or then we will hear that, oh, but the law stops us from doing certain things. Then we change the law. We have our parliament and they make new laws, okay, not every day, but every Friday or so. So I think that we need to get this kind of like discussion going and not take no for an answer. And we are all here to help, because this is so important for the future of Finland. I mean, we can't afford to fail. So, you're doing very, very important work. And if you don't have enough resources, we need to fix it. But we really, really have to get this done. And we're getting a bit frustrated, many of us, because there is not like a lot of progress if you look at like last 10 years.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. And thank you, Alexandra and Jari. I think we all know all these issues are very complex. We have a lot of obstacles to attract and retain international talent. But I think we also need to discuss further how many more digital solutions we can employ in this in Migri. So, of course, we can help to streamline the process and also speed up the process time. And also, you don't need to have so many issues when it's understaffed, because application number will change all the time. So, and then we can discuss further after the meeting. Yeah, thank you. So let's move forward to see the proposal from the SYL. So the Konstantin will share us the plan to improve the study permits.
Yes, awesome. I hope you can hear me. So, hi, my name is Konstantin Kouzmitchev. I'm a student at Aalto University, and I'm currently a board member in the National Union of University Students here in Finland. shortly SYL. At SYL, I am in charge of international affairs, including international students and the advocacy work towards a more humane residence permit process. And let's get it started. So next slide, please. SYL, shortly about SYL. SYL is an interest organization defending and improving the educational, financial, and social benefits and rights of the students. SYL represents over 140,000 university students here in Finland, and SYL was established in 1921, which means this is our 100th anniversary year of fighting for the students' rights in Finland. But that's about SYL, and let's move on to the next slide, please. SYL wants to make this reform happen because more efficient immigration services would help every international student coming outside of the EU and EEA. So international students are already in a very disadvantageous position compared to home students. So it is unreasonable to burden them with further financial demands and difficult immigration bureaucracy. SYL needs this reform to happen now, since the national objective set by the Education and Cultural Ministry this year is to triple the amount of international students by 2030. And at the moment, we get around 30,000 applicants a year, of which 7,500 are accepted to study here in Finnish universities, but only about 5,000 of them can enter Finland after many bureaucratic hurdles. And therefore, Finland loses between 1,000 to 2,000 potential students each year. And one of the reasons has been this bureaucratic hurdles regarding the residence permits. And let's go to the next slide, please. One of the key connections between accepting a place of a study and arriving on campus is the residence permit process that all international students must go through with the Finnish immigration services, so Migri. The process is widely considered cumbersome, inhumane, and slow. And the Finnish student movement demands a more humane and efficient residence permit process for international students entering Finland. And here are our five demands that we would want to achieve. And these could, some of these could also already be achieved this year, but some of these in the upcoming years. So basically, first of all, eradicating or at least lowering the income requirements for students. That system has not been updated after taking the study fees into our system. So therefore, we should recheck the income requirements. Second of all, we should extend the residence permit to last the duration of the degree, not to be applied for a year or two at a time. It doesn't make sense for the students to study for 5 years here in Finland, and so that they have to apply for the residence permit every year. Then third of all, we should reduce the application processing time to a reasonable and humane time frame, and we should redesign and streamline the digital application process. And lastly, but not least, we should include international students in the D visa as soon as possible. And next slide, please, which is my last one. So thank you, and now I'm looking forward for the panel discussion part.
Thank you, Konstantin. First, let me introduce Harriet properly. So she's the head of customer service in Migri. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Konstantin, thank you for sharing the data. So it's like 1 out of 4 students didn't come to Finland after accepting the offer, which is quite alarming. And I think why they are so important for the Finnish society, we make sure the international students can stay and enter Finland properly.
I think the reason is threefold. So basically, first of all, Finnish labor market is aging and becoming more dependent on international talent. Then second of all, at the moment, our universities have to worry each year about the amount of students that can enter Finland and start their studies on time. So that makes it hard for the universities to kind of plan on their future year. And then third of all, and the most important point, is that the process should be humane and smooth for the international students and individuals. We should give every individual a chance to stay here who wants to come to Finland, finish their studies here, and even continue to work after their graduation here.
Thank you. And also, as an international student myself, I fully support this proposal because if you know, now we can apply for 2 years, but some students don't do it because they cannot afford to show 13,000 euros in their bank account for the financial support. And that is very unlikely, unreasonable to ask for 20-something students to have that kind of saving. So it's become a really big barrier to get the permit. And also, I would like to ask Jari, because now they have the proposal, if you can use your longer period, of course, they don't need to renew all the time. You can also reduce the number of the applications for sure. And of course, that's what's the point to make the student to renew? For myself, I renew 3 times. I was in Migri for 4 times during my study. I don't think this is necessary because you can see the data. And of course, if anything changes, you can flag the student and maybe stop the permit validity. But I'd like to ask, what is the further plan to not just it's possible to lower the income income requirements and also issue a longer period of study permits?
Yes, very good questions, and those questions that Konstantin presented, well, if we are looking to the residence permit, that it's now first of it's given to for 1 year and then is continuous permits, but in the government program there is a plan that in the future the residence permit for studying is granted for the whole full period of studies, and this is also has been guided in the legislative process, which is currently under Ministry of Labor in 10 processes, and I think that in the near future there is a possibility to grant the permit for the full extent of the studies. So, but probably if this bill is passed and this it would be in force maybe in 2023 or something like that. So it's in the government's program, and when it's in government's program, so I think that it's we are more than likely to see it in the force in the near future. So hopefully this is a satisfactory answer for that part of the question. And what comes to the income requirements, so the laws of course states that the students should have the income that supports the person when he or she is here in Finland, and this is not only in hands of the Migri, because we have our discussions, of course, with the level of the income if we want to make any changes with the ministries of social affairs and, for example, with the Ministry of Labor, so that we can find the right level of the income. And have to say that we haven't raised, at least in my knowledge, the income requirements for many years, at least with the workers, and I don't think that also with the students that the level of the income has been same for the quite a long time at the moment. And of course, there has been some discussions that should it be maybe a higher, because the living in the country and the inflation and so on is we haven't really touched the level of the income. So, but this is the discussion that we have to take with the expert of the social affairs and with these
Okay.
these actors.
Thank you, Jari. Yes. Okay. Kristina?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if there is some kind of thread bar throughout, like when we know there's a clear problem, if we take the income level or the renewal every year and document that what the impact is within Migri. So where is it causing the pain points for you and also for your customers? But then the thread bar to the legislation. So we know which ones are within our direct influence and who we need to lobby to get them fixed. And also it then allows us, for example, if the 13,000 euros is an issue and we say it needs to be 5,000 euros, we have a direct recommendation. So it's not just, hey, we have a problem, lower the 13,000. We say, hey, we have a problem, Mr. Yoni XYZ, and it needs to be 5,000. And when can you deliver this? And we can put full weight with data, with recommendation all together. And if we could, for example, build a simple, but like maybe the 12 points of the biggest reforms that are tied to the legislation and document them with the answers and then really positively attack the folks who have the most influence. Because what I'm hearing is that there's all of these issues, but we don't know which ones are tied to bureaucracies or legislations and which ones are process related. So if we could document all of that, we could help you solve the problem with the weight. Like I work for the Startup Foundation, which is a multi-billion euro influence overall in Finland. We could use the weight of the Startup Foundation to also drive that. And Peter can do the same, and Alexandra, we have a lot of influence behind us, but we need that document to push it. So maybe that's something we can consider building together.
Yes. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think also, if you look at the chat, there was a suggestion that, okay, why don't we do as Australia, Canada, and these countries that, okay, if you can prove that you can take care of yourself for a year, there is no reason not to give, the permit for the duration of the studies. Reduces work, reduces bureaucracy, better customer service. And then if we identify that as a solution, then I totally agree with Kristina that then we should figure out that, okay, what is stopping us from doing that right now? And most likely nothing. If there is a legal problem, let's fix the law, but most likely there is no reason why we couldn't implement this tomorrow. And then we just need to do it. And then if somebody will say that, oh, but it will cause all kinds of problems. Okay, let's go to Canada, Australia, and so on, and show the problems that it has caused. And if it has caused problems, then we make a better policy. But in many of these, there is absolutely no reason for, let's say, not providing better customer service, in this case for the students.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. We need to move on to the next topic. I think there's also a lot to consider, and we would like to see what are the problems, and also if the income level has been touched before. I think Migri also need to listen more to the customers' needs, because I think there were quite some complaints from the international students as well. Okay, so we are moving on to the next one. The next topic will be about how the Migri's immigration service affected startup and also entrepreneurship society. We'll start with Aicha's presentation.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. I'd like to thank you all for the interesting comments. I definitely agree with everything that has been said so far. My name is Aicha Manai. I work for Suomen Yrittäjät, which is the Federation of Finnish Enterprises. And this topic is very close to my heart for two reasons. I'm the daughter of an immigrant entrepreneur would be the first reason. And the second reason that I work very closely with entrepreneurs who deal with issues. Of course, Migri is not the one to blame, but with our whole immigration system and Finnish society in general. But yes, just shortly about Suomen Yrittäjät, you can go to the first slide, please. Thank you. We are an organization founded by entrepreneurs. We have 115,000 members all over the country. the whole idea of Suomen Yrittäjät is that no matter where you go in Finland, you will find one of us. So we represent small and medium-sized businesses. The next slide, please. And since we're talking about immigration today, I'd like to point out that the number of migrants and non-Finnish business owners is constantly on the rise. We currently have about 11,000 non-Finnish business owners in Finland, and the numbers are constantly growing. So people are either, they have come to Finland as employees, but then they would like to switch and become entrepreneurs. And this number is constantly rising, and obviously Migri has an effect on this, because if you're an employee, you can't just become an entrepreneur under the employee residence permit. But the reason that we are supporting Reform Migri, and we are very keen to be with you guys in this project, and we will do the best from our part to make things happen as well. Please go to the next slide. So it's threefold. Number one, obviously, since we represent business owners, small and medium-sized business owners, the majority of jobs are created in these small companies. And one of the biggest hurdles to growth at the moment is that the employees cannot find the right people. So taken from the Startup Foundation, Finland is approaching a talent crisis. So that's one of the major reasons that we really believe that by reforming our immigration system, we could tackle this problem. Number two, students, international students. Entrepreneurs and business owners work a lot with universities, with vocational educational institutions in order to find new talents and also to innovate and co-work on different projects. So for us, it's very important that international students are well taken care after and they truly find their place in Finland. Not that they come to study here and then end up leaving us or actually never even make it to Finland because of a too bureaucratic system. Number three, entrepreneurs. Like I said, the number of immigrant entrepreneurs is constantly on the rise. Now, these entrepreneurs also have family members. And unfortunately, I've worked for Suomen Yrittäjät for almost 4 years now. And I have had way too many contacts from small and medium-sized business owners who have had their family members deported from Finland simply for the reason that their business has not made enough money. Even if the family members have not actually utilized any social welfare systems, have not used social security, still they have had their children who might have been born in Finland deported back to their home countries. And this is basically just cruel. And obviously, why would a business owner with a permanent residence permit stay in Finland if their daughter has been deported back to Uganda or Turkey or whichever country? I think we seriously need to understand that when you have a small business, there is always risk. Every entrepreneur carries risk when they're doing business. We cannot expect them to have an equal turnover every single year. There are ups and there are downs, and this is something that we really have to take into consideration. But yeah, I have concrete suggestions, but obviously I'm not going to go through every single one. But firstly, just one regarding the entrepreneurs. Obviously, we want a faster system. I think that's what everyone here wants. But the second one would definitely be that we need to look at these income levels again and truly understand the risk that comes with entrepreneurship and realize that entrepreneurs who have had their family members born here should not be scared of actually losing their sons and daughters to countries that they've never possibly even been in. The second one is regarding you can go to the next slide. The second one is regarding international students, and I agree with everything that Konstantin said. We also believe that they should be included in the D visa. And most importantly, we believe that when a person graduates from Finland, they should be automatically provided with a permanent residence permit. That will be a welcoming message. Let's not make them file in paperwork, and let's use digitalization, and let's make, like Peter said, where there's a will, there's a way. So let's just make it happen. And number three would be the general suggestions. You can go to the last slide. Here are several ones, but I think obviously we've spoken a lot about the fact that, or I don't know if we have spoken about it today, but in general, there are many different factors. I mean, Migri isn't the only one when you're applying for a residence permit that you have to deal with. So definitely thinking of the fact that could we just have one authority responsible for this? And for us at Suomen Yrittäjät, we've spoken a lot about the determination of the availability of labor, because that should be removed. We believe that every entrepreneur and employer knows best who they want to employ, and that decision should not be made by TE office experts. But that's that for now, and thank you. Let's continue the discussion.
Thank you, Aicha. So Peter, please share with us your concerns about this topic.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the concerns were already listed, but I think that it's a long list. But I think that also we should look at, making it very easy for startup founders to come to Finland. And that was also in Jari's slides that, the founders and their families. And if you look at what our friends in Estonia has achieved, they have, in 3 years after they got the startup visa going, 500 startup founders have moved to Estonia, and with them 1,500 employees. In Finland, our first year result was 30. So it's a Business Finland process for the startup permit. The goal was 10, so we overachieved and got like 30 applications for all Finland. But then you ask Nina Kopola at Business Finland, so how many actually then came to Finland? And she will tell you that they don't know, because after that it goes to Migri. And second year we got 57 approved applications, and again we don't know how many actually got to Finland. And one of the Russian entrepreneurs got here. I coached him myself at Startup Sauna, and then he got an interview with one of the newspapers here, and he said that he's super happy that he could come from Russia to start his startup here. He would have been even happier if his team could have joined him. So I think that this is, again, everybody understands that that's not like an ideal solution, that we let the founder move to Finland and then his team stays somewhere in Siberia or someplace like that. Not ideal. Then another thing for startups and all companies, I mean, we have this like crazy slow process also for renewing the permits, so that even if you continue with the same employer, with the same startup, same everything, you still have to apply for a new permit, and it can take a long time. And during that time, you are not supposed to move or travel outside of Finland, because, hey, don't come back and you lose like your ability to come to the country. And again, this is not based on any law or any like regulation. It's just a Migri decision that this is the way it has always been and will always be. And then it's really like not an ideal situation if you can't travel. Let's say you do a sales job at your company and you're selling to customers who are mainly outside of Finland. It's not like very good if you can't travel. You can't do your job, basically. Okay, the pandemic helps you because nobody can travel, but hopefully we'll get through the pandemic. So I think that there are many like issues, but I think that we should kind of like keep our focus on what we want to achieve. So if Estonia with their startup visa got 500 founders in 3 years and like 1,500 employees, in Finland, our ambition should be at least to be almost as good as Estonia. So maybe 1,000 startup founders every year. That would be like a good target. And then we should take that, and then we should figure out how to make it happen. How do we make like a proper process? Like they did in Estonia, they didn't build this like monster of a process to serve a few companies. They actually worked with the local startups and they designed it together with the government. And I think that this kind of co-creation and listening to the customers is always like a pretty good idea. And maybe one more thing, talking about entrepreneurs. I don't know any startup entrepreneur in Finland that pays himself or herself the kind of salary that we require. I mean, no entrepreneur is so stupid that, okay, I want to pay myself like lots of salary so I can pay a lot of taxes because, I can afford it. I mean, that doesn't happen. Why would we insist on that kind of like crazy system for foreign entrepreneurs? We should actually treat them, equal. We're big on equality and equity and everything in Finland. So again, I think these kind of like really totally random requirements for how much money you need. I mean, to live in Helsinki, you need a lot more money than if you live in, I don't know, Vimpeli that I visited last week, or, like somewhere in the outskirts of, civilization, or you go to like Salla, they're proud of being in the middle of nowhere. I guarantee you that you can survive with probably half or a third of what you can go with here in Helsinki area. So again, these kind of like random, like, okay, you need to have this much money. It's doesn't make any sense. And maybe one final thing, that having this kind of Migri and TE-keskus, T-center, you know, like, oh, it's not our fault, it's TE-keskus that made the decision. Or then they will say that, oh, it's not our process, it's Migri. I mean, we have to stop this kind of like finger pointing between the different government entities, because it's a super bad experience for everybody involved. So yeah, but I could go on and on. But we need to kind of like be ambitious, and we need to fix this, not like in 23, but if we can't do it overnight, let's not do it in 1,000 nights, let's do it in 100 nights.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I think it's very important we realize, of course, there's something we can fix with the existing systems, and something new we need to, of course, it will take time and take resources. But it's good that now Migri has a go into 2023. That will be a start, well, that reduced from 11 to 12 months to 14 days for entrepreneurship permits. But I think it's good for the Migri also to think about how can you make more step-to-step changes, not just to, you know, everything has to wait for 2 years, because the innovation is very important to the economics, and also it comes very strongly rely on the entrepreneurs and also the startup ecosystem. And also we should also make international talents to feel welcome here, whether they are international entrepreneurs or international student graduated. They should feel welcome and appreciated in Finland. Yes, Kristina?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think coming from the startup world and also being an entrepreneur myself, I think we can think about using some of the agile techniques that we use in our business. And one of the things I've been contemplating, we work a lot in unemployment, but why not with Migri, is if we take the general sort of thought process between growth hacking or lead generation, which is where you take one small problem and you iterate as many times until you solve it. And we apply that methodology to the sort of structural problems that are happening in Migri, we might be able to move things really fast. You know, we see startups grow exponentially by using this technique. So why couldn't we use a similar technique? And you have a wealth of experience sitting here, but within our neighborhoods as well. We could use that to help you. You just say, here's our problem. And we could use our expertise just to hammer away at that and say, this is the best result. And then we fix it and we go to the next problem. So I think we have skills that we can also use because we're used to kind of navigating, not bureaucracy, but we have so little resources that getting creative and being fast is the only way to succeed when you're an entrepreneur. And if we can use those or leverage those in your business, maybe we both win. Just an idea.
Yeah, thanks, Kristina. So Jari, do you like to respond to all these concerns and suggestions?
Yes, there were many concerns, but we're gonna start. Well, as I said, we have to look in the future, make those decisions and reforms here in the Migri that which are needed to achieve our goals. Of course, it's very important that we hear you experts and your ideas and share ideas how to improve our work here, and some improvements may take time. Still, we do have a legislation that we have to follow. As a government official, I have to follow the current legislation, but it doesn't hinder us to make those changes that are in our hands, that we see that would improve our business or our processes, and that's what we are doing at the moment here in our Lupa 22 project. And I have a very big confidence with my experts in that area, and we are really planning to hear about our customers and all our other people in that sense, that we can really then have a discussion about what we are doing and what kind of ideas you guys have. So so that's one of the goals. Would Harriet would like to maybe add something?
Yes, if we the thought about startup entrepreneurs, we are currently doing quite tight cooperation with Helsinki Business Hub and Business Finland, and we have done pictures about customer journey, and we are interviewing our startup customers and try to specialize, try to really exactly find those places where will be problems during their customer journey, and about, for example, with better knowledge and better guidance, we try to move those difficulties away. If we think about those startups now, so we are currently doing that work.
Yeah, thank you, Harriet. Alexandra, you have something to add?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to build on that because I completely agree with everything Peter and Kristina has brought to the fore, and I was, Aicha, shocked by that story you told. I really was. I'd like to actually ask, speed is of the essence, and I think every panelist here has actually mentioned how important it is that we move quickly because we all feel that we're perhaps already behind. And so I'm really loving what you're saying about the efforts you're already making and being in touch with different groups and organizations. How could we help you do this faster? Like, what are the concrete steps when you look at your Outlook calendar? You're going to take your summer break, you come back from your summer break, and you look at your Outlook calendar and you're thinking, this is what I need to make happen in order to do this faster. How can we help you there? Because I think that's what we're looking for, those action points to make sure that this happens quickly. And whether it is those, that growth hacking Kristina was talking about, or those conversations with decision makers Peter was mentioning, like what is your sort of number one ask that would help you get there faster?
Thank you.
Well, one answer could be that we are planning to have this kind of customer panels or something like that. That we have some kind of idea that we can run by the with the different groups or something like that. That we could have a discussion about these kind of things and have input from you guys or other actors who are involving with us or with our customers, that what you are really thinking about these ideas and so put forward and forward these ideas. So that could be one way to approach this thing, and maybe Harriet.
Yeah, I think we are all really committed to this to fix the immigration service, and we're definitely really good committed to also have a meeting together. Peter, you have something to add?
Yeah, I think that it also comes back to this, it's a little bit like, okay, so who's in charge? Because, I mean, you also see now in the discussion that, okay, Migri is not responsible for the embassies. So, I mean, one example now that we have, for example, Philippine embassy have decided that they have one interview for students each week, one. Meaning that in theory, we can attract 52 students if the embassy is open every week. Then, one student can do an interview. So then, this is like a bit of a problem. Konstantin mentioned that, okay, now finally we have an official target that we want to have 60,000 international students in Finland. Okay, the correct target would be 150,000. Then we would be as good as our competitors. But okay, 60,000 is like a start. But then, if we have this that, okay, 52 a year can come from the Philippines because that's the capacity. So it's like a bit of a problem here that, even if we then get the Migri process running perfectly, it doesn't help if we can blame the foreign ministry that those guys are like totally, like inefficient and they can't even do their job. So then, this is the finger pointing that I was referring to, that it's foreign ministry, it's Migri, it's TE-keskus. And then, if I ask, what is the goal for, how many startup founders do we want to attract every year to Finland? And who is in charge of that? Does anybody know the answer? Because I don't know. I don't know what the target is, and I don't know who is in charge. And if we don't know who is in charge, guess what? Nobody's in charge. And guess what? Nothing will happen.
Yeah, that's true. I think that comes down to a lot of problem in the Migri, because when there's a cross ministries, a collaboration, this end up like no one is doing anything, and it's kind of we are standing and still not moving forward. But thank you, Peter, for...
It's not Migris. I mean, we can't blame Migri for everything. We can't blame the foreign ministry. We can't. But I mean, the thing is that it doesn't even matter. But we need to kind of like figure out who's in charge and then make it happen. I don't care who's in charge, but we need to have somebody that will make it happen. And then we get to the 1,000 founders, we get to the 60,000 students. And it can't be that, we would have gotten there, but the foreign ministry, or we would have gotten there Migri, or, whatever the problem is. It's not acceptable. I mean, we need to make this happen. And it can't be that somebody else is to blame.
Well, isn't that then holistically such a core identified issue, that there is no leadership on issues like this, that it's a responsibility shared across different ministries, and there is no coordinator, there is no ombudsman. We're all trying to figure out who to call, and the government needs to set someone whose job it is to be that contact person between the different ministries, who all have a play in this, who all have a hand in this.
Welcome to Finland. That's how we do things.
Hi, Aicha.
Yeah, this is why we need one entity that is in charge. But just something that we haven't spoken about a lot is also not the fact that these processes take time and etc., but also there's the issue that employers, employees, business owners also file in the applications and make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, the process goes on and on and on. So like Kristina was talking about, kind of using service design ideas on also how to actually, when people file these applications, that they don't put one X in the wrong box and then the whole thing takes 5 more months. So that's obviously also a big issue, that people don't know how to file in the papers.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Jari.
I think this is the area of Harriet, but she is more qualified to answer that question and tell you about all the approaches that we are taking on that issue.
Yes,
we have currently at the February started a service modeling project where we check all the customers' journeys and check those difficult part of that customer journey, and then we going to improve that cross-functional educational thing and guidance material, which going through the whole process from the TE office, foreign ministry, and all the authorities which are included in this process. So we are doing that just now.
Yeah, Alexandra.
I'd like to know from Harriet and Jari on your sort of personal opinion on who should it be that Peter calls? Like, who should it be that we all call within the Finnish system? Like, who should be taking on that mantle? Is it Migri, or is it someone else that should be in charge?
Well, in my point, and when I'm sitting here, so the clear answer is that the majority of the process is in our hands at the moment. So the leading role should be here, and of course we are now having very close discussions and planning with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment and the Ministry of Interior and the Foreign Ministry when we are now drafting the new legislation of the Aliens Act, which covers the work-related permits and students permits, and we are really looking to streamline this whole picture from the embassies to our end, and I think that we are going forward, and there's a really strong commitment from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment and from us to have it work in the future, so that all the actors know what they do, and we do in good quality, and all the actors have same methods to work, because it doesn't. It's not okay that some individuals or offices are doing the same thing with different rules. So we have to have a standard how to operate that's transparent for the customer, then they know what to expect, and that's also all the key issues that we are following the protocol and the process. So, but I'm very confident that we are going forward at the moment.
Yeah,
That's
Of
really
course, there are
promising.
we have to do quite a lot, but we are going forward.
Thank you. I think we need to, there's a lot to discuss with the follow-up meetings, but we need to move forward to our last topic. So it's about the talent shortage. Let's start with Kristina's presentation. Kristina.
Thanks, and it's also a real pleasure to be with you all, and I'm very excited to have an opportunity to sort of give our perspective. So I think you're at the end of the presentation. Oh no, okay. So you can go to the first slide. So I'm Kristina Sweet. I'm Canadian. I've been in Finland since 2009, and I'm currently leading the Shortcut. If you go to the next slide, please. So the Shortcut is, it was originally built 6 years ago for the refugee crisis and to drive talent into entrepreneurship. And we've all evolved over time, but essentially our mission is to be the place for meaningful professional integration and career transformation. And we mainly work with unemployed or underemployed, and the majority of the folks we serve are foreign, although 25% are Finn as well. And we're a sister company to Slash and Maria 01 and Junction. And so we sort of live in the entrepreneurship mentality. So we're light and lean, basically. And if you go to the next slide, so just very briefly about us. So we're a team of 9, and we come from 7 different nationalities. So we really represent the community with which we serve. And the blessing, I believe, of the Shortcut is that we have this empathetic, authentic, we've walked the path of many of the folks who are in our community. So when they're having challenges with employment or Migri or whatever, most of us have experienced a version of that. We're a not-for-profit, which means that we're impact-driven and not monetarily driven. And we've been tracking our data since we've started, and we'd be happy to share that data with any of you, including Migri, if it's useful for your business. And basically, we use upskilling, training events, mentoring, coaching, and being friends to drive our community into a more positive professional environment. And the next slide, which I won't go through, but just 2 quick points that since our inception, we've helped over 12,000 folks, and we've served 132 nationalities. So we're really kind of knowledge experts in this particular sphere, and we're happy to share the information that we have with you. So if we quickly go into why we're interested in immigration and into the next slide. So we're looking at our work on 3 levels. If you could go to the next slide, please, Julia. So essentially, we have sort of the macro side, the corporate side, and the talent side. And we see, and this is probably not new information for any of us, but we have major labor shortages looming on us, and over 50,000 is expected just in the tech and health care fields alone. By 2030, we'll have a reduction in our local workforce by 130,000 people. 20% of our workforce are public servants. It's the highest ratio in all of the EU. We need private sector jobs. And with a shrinking workforce, naturally, international talent is one of the ways to fill that. We have a rapidly aging population, lower birth rates, very modest GDP, and essentially we're an island, right? Like, if we're going to grow our GDP and our business, their only option is to grow out. And so we need to use internationalization as a real strategic pinpoint for ourselves. And if we go to the next slide. So we care because we represent over 10,000 educated foreigners in the greater Helsinki area. 10,000. This is the HFK arena completely filled of unemployed or underemployed, not by choice, but by circumstance. Just to be very clear, the majority of these folks are not working or underworking because of the situation they're in. Some are Migri related, some are other. But in addition to attracting new talent to Finland, it's very important for Finland and for these folks that we retain the folks who have made the journey here and that they have meaningful, valuable careers in Finland. Our country needs more taxpayers. It needs more people building houses, having babies, buying cars, getting educated. These are all the things that contribute to a growing economy and a growing society. And our observation is that Finland is an attractive destination, mainly for love, for family, or because of geographically close immigration. And I think we should be also looking at the services that we offer based on where we see the majority of the folks coming to Finland. And the last is, and which has been mentioned before, is that we're ranking near the bottom in terms of how folks integrate. And I have my own views about what that is, and naturally that's not at all on the feet of Migri, but I think having a less than empathetic, friendly process as a welcoming mat, which Migri often is, it doesn't necessarily add to the positive experience. So just to say that. And then the next slide. So with our community, which is about 2,500 active per year, we've heard many anecdotal stories. One is that permanent resident renewals takes a long time. And I believe it was Alexandra that, or Aicha that said before, like, if your situation hasn't changed, if you're working, if you still have kids, if you're still married, if you haven't committed any crimes, it should be a tick of the box and you pay your fee and you're good to go. Like, flooding the immigration queues with a simple renewal process when none of your major life circumstances change seems wasteful, both to the time, and I can't travel during that time, nor can my colleagues. So, and then many students need to be renewed. Spouse permits are an issue. There are so many stories in our community of families who have been separated, or it takes so long for the spouse to come to Finland because of work permits that they either leave Finland or it causes like family trauma. So just to be very empathetic, but the decisions are directly impacting the health and wellness and financial wellness of families, and never to lose sight of that. So time is always of the essence. But I think personally and within our community, the biggest issue is the lack of transparency. We don't know why things don't move fast. We don't know when things go in, when they're going to come out. We don't have a clear process for escalating, or at least a process for escalating when we don't fear any retribution. And I think my recommendation would be that Migri needs to make an official statement, whether you're here to block immigration or to facilitate it. And I'm assuming it's to facilitate it, and that message should be pushed over and over and over again until everybody in the queue believes it. Because right now, most foreigners feel like your job is to keep us out. And I think that that's causing a great disservice to your reputation and to Finland, but also to the folks who are wanting to come here. And so, oh, sorry, to the next slide. So I won't read through them all, but we have some recommendations about what we think could alleviate maybe some of the work queues that you have, but which would also create a better customer experience. And one of the things as well, many of these are process related, but a few times the discussion has come up about the service. So I qualify for multiple work permit or multiple permits. So do I apply for work permit, family permit, student permit, whatever it might be? And if I choose one and my situation changes, is one worse than the other in terms of having to fix it? And I think that these are the things that your customers grapple with on a very regular basis. And lastly, and I really strongly recommend this, is that when you're building these processes, you include foreigners in your discussion group. So my personal experience is I've been participating with Business Finland and Helsinki Business Hub and others, Helsinki, I can't remember the name of it, but the talent attraction. I'm the only foreigner ever in those discussions. And how foreigners see Finland and how we experience processes and integration are vastly different than what you assume them to be. And I think the best service you can do for yourselves is including a variety of your key stakeholders in these service design processes. So it's wonderful to hear you're working with Helsinki Business Hub, but ensure that it's not just Finns that are participating in your conversation. I think you'll end up with better results, and I think we'll feel better represented and have more faith in the solutions that come when we've been contributing to the process. So that's from the shortcut, and I maybe turn over to Alexandra now to talk more on the corporate side.
Yeah, thank you, Kristina. Now is Alexandra's time, please.
Thank you, and I really endorse and underline everything Kristina just said. I couldn't agree more. I'm Alexandra Pasternak-Jackson. I'm the CEO of Amcham Finland, and as I've already alluded to, this is a topic close to both my personal and professional self. I'm a dual citizen. I was raised as a third culture kid in 8 different countries, and I'm married to an expat who lives here with me and my kids. So again, I have a personal connection to this work. But on the Amcham front, we're a corporate membership-based nonprofit organization. We're the voice of international business in Finland. And if you go to the next slide, please. We are also the most diverse executive business community in Finland. So we have professionals from all over the world, all sorts of different backgrounds working for our member companies. And what I want to address today is that our over 200 members are among the largest investors and taxpayers this country has. So next slide, please. So I want to tell you a little bit about foreign affiliates, because this is why it's so tied to reform Migri and why it's so important to reform Migri. So foreign affiliates, they're only 1% of all business in Finland, but overall employ 266,000 people in this country. And I like to talk to decision makers about the prosperity we'd experience here if we could double those investments. I mean, we'd hit the government's employment goals, we'd secure our welfare system and our economic well-being. And that investment, it brings in capital to this country, it brings in R&D, innovation, knowledge exchange, value add for the supply chain. It's just critical to this country. But you know what we need to bring in all of those benefits? It's talent. We need talent. We'd heard all the anecdotes and the stories as part of our network, but we really wanted that evidence-based approach, that data. So to that end, in 2020, we conducted a study in partnership with Business Finland called Finland as a Business Location Barometer, where we surveyed 400 C-level decision makers, CEOs, chairmen of the board, country managers of both Finnish multinationals and foreign affiliates. And we got a lot of interesting insights, but the key one today is that the critical reason to invest in Finland was talent. And some of our foreign investors, they've been here for decades. So that's great, but we need that new investment to drive the economy. And so, for example, if we want to attract AI investments and companies to Finland, which many people making strategic decisions in this country have told me that's what we want. Talent makes up 80% of that investment decision at a corporate level. 80%. That's how important talent is. And it's important for Finns as well because of the knowledge transfer. So at the same time, biggest strength, but also the biggest risk. The biggest risk that these 400 CEOs, chairmen, and country managers identified for Finland was a shortage of talent, possible lack of availability of talent. And you've already heard from my co-panelists here about if we can go to the next slide, actually. Thank you. Next slide.
Yes, I changed.
Perfect. We've already heard about sort of and actually we can jump over a little bit as well. This slide was all about how far behind our Nordic and Baltic neighbors are. But in the interest of time, let's go to the next slide because we are far behind and we should be doing more. Julia, if you go to the next slide. Perfect. Right. So we've already heard about the cliff that's approaching. The tech field alone has something like 50 or 60,000 positions that they're looking for. We've got the aging population that's shrinking our national workforce. Finns are not having enough children, and we have a brain drain in our country. For example, I knew one of our Amcham members who we were speaking to just a few weeks ago was telling us how they lost the race to make Finland the new EMEA headquarter because some of the staff members mentioned that they would rather resign than move to Finland based on the experiences that they'd heard from some of the other executives that they talked to. Another case that we experienced is an intercompany transfer where the uncertainty of the long wait and the effect that had on the talent's spouse and the talent's child made them actually reconsider the opportunity. So my point here is that it's already difficult to attract international talent. And, the talent we have, which Kristina Sweet was talking about from the shortcut, have arrived through various different means. And we want all of their interactions with Finland, especially because Migri is often that first touch point, to be a warm and welcoming one. And actually, if we can go to the next slide, please. Next slide. So Jari, while they're changing the slide, one of the things I really wanted to put across in our section before I go into the recommendations was we want you to understand, business leaders want you to understand how valuable the work that you do is, how impactful it is, and how the possibility to positively change basically the entire future trajectory of Finland rests on your shoulders, rests on your team. And foreign leaders, they say it's about the welcoming attitude, about the interactions and conversations, about the speed of the decision-making, and also about the predictability. Because the big investors I was telling you about, well, they make their decisions 10 to 15 years in advance. And unless we take this action right now, it really doesn't look good for our country. And I say that with a smile, but it's just, it doesn't look good in 10 to 15 years. We are not going to have the availability of talent to make sure that we are attracting these companies that provide jobs for Finns and foreigners. Reforming Migri, to our mind, to Amcham's mind, is a clear and attainable step in promoting Finland's sustained economic well-being and promoting diversity and competitiveness as well. And you see here the different recommendations that we've made, and all of these can be summed up in fast tracking and streamlining those areas. One of the things that shocked me when I got into this was, that in Finland, we have 23 types of work permits for non-EU applicants. And I think that could be brought right down to 2 or 3. Sweden has 2, for example. The other thing I wanted to address, other than the fast tracking and the streamlining and the speeding up that we've discussed, is that focus on a positive customer service experience. And, looking at it from that holistic perspective, not just, it is the person-to-person contact, but it's also the website experience, the reservation system that was already mentioned, and the interaction. And I'll just sort of add one of my favorite places, and my team has heard me say this many times, the best customer service from a Finnish government institution I've received is from Vero. And I actually called Vero to tell them that how amazing their customer service is. And they really implemented a plan for how to change their entire mindset and their entire organization about the purpose they serve and how they want to engage with their customers. So Finland already has a best use case on how to make these changes relatively quickly. And I kind of thank you, Vero, for doing that in the way that you did. But I think I will end there and say I really appreciate this discussion. There's really a lot to continue working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Okay, yes, Aicha.
Yeah, just a quick
Aicha?
comment. Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment. Thank you, Alexandra and Kristina. To what Kristina said, and which is also in the Reform Migri list, is establishing this outside committee. That is crucial. I strongly believe in this nothing about us without us principle. That if we are planning to service newcomers better, we have to have these newcomers with us in the process to actually be able to do so. And second of all of us had these concrete suggestions. We had lists. So now I'm interested to know that will these lists be delivered to Mr. Jari Kähkönen, and what will you do with all these suggestions? Because I know we talked a lot about problems, but we actually also had suggestions that I know that not Migri alone can decide on, but still. Yeah. So I'd like to know that what will be done now with these suggestions of ours.
Yeah, short comment. Thank you, Alexandra and Kristina. I couldn't agree more with Alexandra with these three points that you positive experience, speedy and streamlined processes, and that's the main goals that I do have here, and I'm sure that Harriet has with and also the, let's say, Migri has that our goal is to achieve these what the goal that was mentioned, and I couldn't agree more about that and of the holistic approach. And what comes to those lists that or ideas that you share with us, we are more than happy to have them here. And look, I'm sure that I can assure you that we go through them very thoroughly. Some things that are also in process at the moment here in Migri, but I think that there could be many valuable ideas to us to proceed also in future, and we can really look into how to approach those ideas and turn them into the practice. And I want to underline that we are not a government agency that has planned to our aim is not to stop immigration or people to come to Finland. Our job is to grant permits to the persons who have met the standards of the law to enter the country. So at least I don't have, and we do not have that kind of how could I say attitude for our customers. We do make negative decisions now and also in the future. All the customers who are coming to Finland do not meet the requirement, the standards of the law to enter the country. But also, I think it is important that with all the customers, the customer service and the positive experience of the customer service in Migri, even if the decision is negative, is he or she deserves that kind of positive experience and positive customer service. So customer service in all levels or all cases is very important, and this is one of the topics that I'm underlining to my staff, and we have discussions that the customer service in all the contacts with the clients or the customers is very, very important, and we are really trying to improve that, and that at least the experience would be a good here in Migri. But I leave some final words for the Harriet also.
Thank you, Jari. Very shortly, Kristina, we are having involved real customers to this customer journey thing. We are going through the process with them. We have couple real customers, including this process. But I have to say, Alexandra, that I have worked at tax administration. I came from tax 3 years ago, and I think same than you said that it's one of Finnish miracle that tax administration thing. I have to say there is couple things which our work is little bit harder. For example, this kind of things that strong identification using that instead of service points. Coming to service point, but I think we are still doing the same miracle at Migri, and I'm very glad that we are here together and we can do that together. And I'm really interested, Kristina, that your data you represent. So if we could have that, and also all the ideas and data and new kind of solutions, we are more than happy to have those and discuss about those with you guys. Thank you. This has been great event.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ariel. Yes, Peter?
Yeah, so I don't think that the Finnish, like Vero and the tax, is a miracle. They made it happen. They decided that they are in the customer service business, and then they made it so. And I think that, we're all very happy with the customer service that they offer at Vero. And, like the example of the strong identification and all of that, there are technical solutions to take care of that. So it's again coming back to this, that if there is a will, there is a way. And that is kind of like what we want to see here. And we really are here to help. I mean, if it's about resources, if it's about anything, we need to kind of like get that sorted. And I don't think that there is any reason like why not, and I think that this is something that we really need to solve for like all of us here in Finland. I mean, this is so important. So we need to kind of like remove all the excuses for not doing things. And I mean, again, if it's about strong identification, we can do that. I mean, Vero has solved that. You can use your European ID to do your taxes or get identified by Vero. You can't get that to work at Migri. And same law, same country, same technology available. So again, if it's about then resources and funding, let's get the funding in place and make it happen. So I think Vero is a good example, and we should aim to have even better quality of service at Migri and like for the whole like immigration process. So that includes the embassies and everything. So I think that we need to have somebody that is in charge of the whole overall thing. And maybe one detail that it's good that you work with, Helsinki Business Hub, but there's also some other cities in Finland, like Espoo and Vantaa and Turku and Tampere and Oulu and so on. So also good to include like some of the regions in the discussion, because there are startups also outside of the Helsinki area, even here in Espoo.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. We went over 10 minutes already, and I noticed like quite some panelists has to leave. So I think we definitely need to do more follow-up meetings, and all the slides shared with the panelists will be sent to the Migri, and then we can also discuss further in details. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And if anyone would like something final to add, please, now would be the time. No? Okay. Thank you so yeah, Kristina.
Sorry, can I just say that I think that one of the things we could consider doing is making Migri a competitive edge for Finland. And if we want to put a stake in the sand that said we are going to have the best immigration process, service, still with negative results potentially coming, but if we put the stake in the sand that this is our mark, we have endless discussions about how we brand Finland. And I think we brand it by having a second to none immigration system where we get the best people here, and we make it so easy to come to Finland that we have a queue for good people coming in here. And I think it's easy, let's just say it, and then we figure out the path to get there. So I would challenge you guys to say, let's not just be better, let's be the best in the world. Why not? Why can't we put that our claim to fame is the best immigration system in the world, or at least in Europe?
Yeah, excellent goal.
Yeah, thank you, Kristina. We can be the happiest country in the world. I think we can be the best immigration service as well. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today, and I will make sure all the comments and questions, we'll send to the Migri. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Can you tell us?
Thank you, Jari.